In November 2023, deep inside Beit Hanun in northern Gaza, a 13-kilogram charge exploded at the entrance to a tunnel beside a team of elite IDF soldiers from the Duvdevan unit. 4 men were killed instantly. 27-year-old Boris Standa was among those who survived. His leg was severed in the blast. Boris was evacuated under fire, placed into a medically induced coma, and woke up to face the grueling, agonizing reality of life as an amputee. Boris spent months in surgeries and rehabilitation, learning to walk again and reclaim a life that war had nearly taken from him. But physical recovery is not always the end of the story. Welcome back to Torah in 7. I'm Bela Olidort, and this week we're looking at various laws that Moshe lays out for the people in Parshat Shoftim. One of these laws concerns the military draft. Before the army heads out to battle, the officers excuse 3 kinds of men from combat. The man who has built a new house, but not yet dedicated it, the man who has planted a vineyard, but not yet enjoyed its fruit, and the man who has become engaged, but not yet married. In each case, the Torah gives the same reason. Pen yamut b'milchama v'ish acher yachnechenu yichalelenu yikachena. Lest he die in battle, and ish acher, another man, will dedicate his house, harvest his vineyard, or take his bride. The Torah repeats the same explanation each time, lest he die in battle, and ish acher, another man, will take his house, or his vineyard, or his bride. And each time I read it, I wondered, why does the Torah make it about another man? It seems like a curious thought to occupy a young man on the brink of battle. You'd think his fear would simply be that he might die, that he'll never get to live in his house, taste the grapes from his vineyard, or hold his bride. Why introduce this other man at all? Of course, on its simplest level, the Torah is speaking literally. If he dies, someone else will inherit the life he never got to live. But perhaps the phrase ish acher invites us to hear something more. Maybe the other man is not someone waiting back at home. Maybe the Torah is hinting at something else. And it got me thinking, what happens when someone comes home from battle? We've heard so many stories of men who survived the battlefield only to find themselves feeling like strangers in their own lives. For them, the war didn't end when they came home. A soldier at war has to steel himself against horror, so he learns to suppress fear, tenderness, even vulnerability, because those human qualities can make it hard to survive. But the tragedy is that he doesn't always know how to recover it. And we know from clinical interviews that returning veterans often describe looking at their spouses, their children, and the homes they fought to protect, yet feel profoundly detached from them, as if the gentle person who once loved those people never came home. So what if the ish acher isn't a rival who moves into your house, but the stranger you risk becoming inside your own skin? And this isn't only true on a physical battlefield. It happens in hospital corridors, during bitter life crises, through prolonged grief, or under the daily grind of chronic stress and burnout. Life often demands that we put on armor. It teaches us that feeling is dangerous, so we shut down what makes us vulnerable simply to survive. But if we aren't careful, the armor fuses to our skin. We survive the crisis, but the person who knew how to hope, how to trust, and how to love never makes it back. The ish acher moves into our house, sits at our table, and lives in our relationships. So think about what the Torah is trying to preserve: a man's ability to come home from war and truly inhabit his house, his life's work, and his marriage. The Torah exempts these men not because it values comfort over courage, but because it recognizes that the purpose of war is ultimately to protect a life worth living. Because what good is surviving the battle if when you finally come home, someone else is living inside your life? The whole point of building a home is to remain human enough to live in it. And this tells us something about the spiritual battle that Israel's soldiers are fighting today. As I think about all of this, I am flipping through the pages of a newly published book that a friend just sent me. It's a book of letters written by fallen Israeli soldiers to their families, and its title is If You Are Reading These Words. They're the words of young men, some as young as 19, waiting to enter battle, words of faith, gratitude, and love they write to the people they know they may never see again. It's a book you may want to read because these aren't only letters of goodbye. These letters are monuments of spiritual triumph. They stand as enduring proof that even in the darkest heat of combat, our fallen heroes entered the fray without allowing the Ish Acher, the hardened stranger born of war's brutal necessity, to erase their love, their faith, or their humanity. After 19 surgeries and months of excruciating rehabilitation, Boris learned to walk again. And then he stood beneath a chuppah in Jerusalem, surrounded by loved ones to marry his bride. When the moment came to break the traditional glass, Boris raised his new prosthetic leg and brought it down with a forceful stomp, shattering the glass to the roar of tears and cheers. The war had taken his leg, but it hadn't succeeded in replacing him with an Ish Acher. Whether on the front lines of Gaza or in the quiet, overwhelming battles of our own lives, the call is the same. We're not just fighting to survive the darkness. We're fighting to keep our souls intact, to refuse, to our very last breath, to let the stranger take our place. That's it for Parshat Shoftim. If you'd like to go deeper or dedicate an episode to someone you love, please go to torahin7.substack.com. Thank you for listening. Shabbat Shalom.